In an age of such debauchery and sexually charged ads and corruption, it seems like in some ways everyone's involved. But Daniel chapter 1 tells us that purity brings blessing. Take a look. In Daniel chapter 1, what is described is Nebuchadnezzar went into Jerusalem and killed a majority of the people. Many of them were exiled, but many of them were killed. He took a special group of people aside to say, you know what, we can use these people for our own purposes. These were the sons of nobility. These were the people who are the most beautiful, the people who were the smartest, the most wise. And he says, I want to put them in a camp for 3 years and train them to be a Chaldean, a Babylonian. And then I'm going to use them for my own purposes. And Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were part of this group. The Bible says in verse 8, they were given some food, the king's food, the best food, the meat and the wine he drank. And the Bible says in verse 8, but Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food or the wine that he drank. Therefore he asked the chief of the eunuchs to not allow himself to be defiled. He says, even though this food is delicious, even though this food is great, it is not according to what I'm supposed to eat as a Jew, and I am not going to eat it. And so the Bible says he looked for a way to escape. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, the Bible says, there is no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape that you may be able to bear it. The Bible says that there is a way to escape every single temptation, and God gives you that way. All you've got to do is take it. Pray today for a heart to take that escape route. That's what Daniel did. He says, I am determined I am not going to eat this meat, even if it costs me my life. So he asked permission from the chief eunuch, the guy in charge of all these boys, will you give me vegetables and said, do a 10-day test. And the 4 of these men, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel, did this 10-day test. They ate vegetables and water, and you wouldn't think they're going to be stronger. But they were. In fact, they were 10 times better in appearance than the others, the Bible says. And so they let them go ahead and do this, and they were blessed. In fact, the Bible says in verse 17, as for these 4, God gave them learning and skill in literature and wisdom, and Daniel understanding in all visions and dreams. And they were 10 times, verse 20, better than all the other magicians. Blessing comes with purity. And when you sacrifice and you say, you know what, I'm going to give up something so I can be pure, that sacrifice reaps great reward. Where do you need to be pure in your life? What area is impure? What sacrifice do you need to make in order to reap great reward? My challenge to you is to do that today. Make that sacrifice and see what God will do. Give it 10 days. See what God will do.